From Aviator DB, this is This Week in Aviation. I'm Mark.
And I'm Hope. Today is Friday, April 17th, 2026.
Coming up, a runway collision at LaGuardia kills 2 pilots. FAA auditors find major cybersecurity gaps in air traffic systems. And Lufthansa cuts its fleet amid massive strikes.
We begin with a fatal collision between an Air Canada Express CRJ-900 and a fire truck at LaGuardia Airport on March 22nd.
The aircraft struck an airport rescue firefighting truck that had been cleared by air traffic control to cross runway 4 during landing operations. Both pilots were tragically killed in the collision. Dozens of passengers and first responders were injured in the incident.
The NTSB's preliminary findings point to an ATC clearance error as the primary factor. The controller had cleared the fire truck to cross the active runway, while the CRJ was on final approach.
Audio recordings released by investigators reveal something notable. After the collision, multiple pilots on frequency offered support to the controller, recognizing the human factors element in what had just occurred.
The aircraft sustained severe damage, with the cockpit and front galley destroyed. LaGuardia remained closed until the following day, while investigators from the NTSB, FAA, and Transport Canada began their coordinated probe.
The investigation is looking at several factors: the wet runway conditions and what the NTSB calls layered safety failures that let the incursion happen.
This tragic incident has raised concerns about runway safety at major airports.
Turning to cybersecurity, a Department of Transportation audit has revealed significant vulnerabilities in the FAA's air traffic control systems.
The April audit identified 1,836 unimplemented security controls across 45 key national airspace system components. That's an 11.3% gap in required protections.
Auditors found 15 systems still using outdated NIST Revision 4 standards, along with inaccurate documentation throughout the system. The FAA has pledged to implement all fixes by December 2026.
These gaps create risks of operational disruptions or external compromise of air traffic systems. The audit follows previous GAO warnings about sustainability issues in the aging ATC infrastructure.
The FAA concurred with all audit recommendations, but the findings underscore the challenge of modernizing critical systems while maintaining continuous operations.
With increasing cyber threats targeting transportation infrastructure, these vulnerabilities could potentially ground flights nationwide if exploited. In Europe, Lufthansa faces operational chaos as it accelerates fleet reductions while dealing with a 4-day strike that canceled 1,455 flights.
The carrier announced on April 16th the immediate withdrawal of 27 CityLine aircraft, including A319 and CRJ-900 models. The A340 fleet will be retired by October, with 2 Boeing 747s being grounded through the winter schedule, and the full fleet of 8 set for retirement in 2027.
The timing couldn't be worse. Cabin crew joined pilots in striking from April 13th through 14th, hitting Frankfurt and Munich hubs hardest. The dispute centers on pay and pension negotiations that remain deadlocked.
Lufthansa cites rising fuel costs and these ongoing labor disputes as drivers for the accelerated fleet cuts. The carrier is shifting strategy toward more efficient types like the A350.
Talk about bad timing. These disruptions coincide with Lufthansa's 100th anniversary celebrations.
The strikes have forced thousands of transatlantic passengers to find alternative routings, showing the pressure airlines face as carriers balance profitability against labor demands in a high fuel cost environment. The FAA has issued a final rule mandating safety management systems for Part 135 operators and repair stations, marking a significant expansion of proactive safety requirements.
Compliance deadlines are set for December 2025 for repair stations and May 2027 for Part 135 operators. The rule requires implementation of 4 key components: safety policy, risk management, safety assurance, and safety promotion.
This applies to charter operators, air tour companies, and aircraft manufacturers. The FAA specifically emphasizes hazard identification and data sharing between operators as central to the new requirements.
This builds on the 2020 Aircraft Certification Safety and Accountability Act. The FAA says this approach aims to prevent accidents before they happen.
Implementation will challenge smaller operators who must now develop formal safety programs. The rule allows for maturity-based approaches rather than prescriptive designs, giving operators flexibility in how they meet requirements.
Data sharing could improve safety across the industry, but some operators have raised concerns about proprietary information and privacy protections.
The FAA expects these measures to reduce fatalities in general aviation and charter operations by addressing hazards before they lead to accidents.
Also in aviation news this week, a fatal accident during an FAA check ride in Tennessee has reignited debate over high-risk training maneuvers. A Beechcraft Baron crashed April 13th near Knoxville during a minimum control speed demonstration, killing both the examiner and applicant. The aircraft was operating below the recommended 5,000-foot altitude for the maneuver when control was lost. Loss of control remains the leading cause of general aviation fatalities, raising questions about the necessity of performing these demonstrations during certification flights.
In Arizona, 2 people died when their Piper Saratoga overran the shortened runway at Marana Regional Airport on April 8th. The aircraft approached runway 3 at 120 knots, an unstabilized approach, before overrunning the pavement and catching fire. Construction had reduced the available runway length, highlighting the critical importance of NOTAM compliance and stabilized approach procedures at airports with temporary restrictions.
A Cessna Citation Bravo with 2 pilots aboard disappeared over Bolivia on April 13th and is presumed lost. The aircraft exhibited erratic flight patterns and a high rate of descent before contact was lost in mountainous terrain. Search operations continue in the challenging high-altitude environment. Local media reports suggest the jet may have been owned by Oscar Mario Justiniano, Minister of Productive Development, though authorities haven't confirmed ownership details.
Boeing outpaced Airbus in first-quarter deliveries for the first time since the 737 MAX crisis, shipping 143 aircraft compared to Airbus's 114. Boeing delivered 114 MAX aircraft in the quarter, signaling continued recovery from the 2024 door plug incident. The delivery numbers suggest supply chain improvements as both manufacturers work through substantial backlogs.
That's This Week in Aviation. For the latest aviation news, visit aviatordb.com.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Hope. We'll see you next week.